Hi mates, how's it going? I promised you guys a video of what I was telling you about what's happening with the weather up here after being out early. The smallie fishermen, man, we don't really care about the weather. We had about 36 degrees. We didn't really get the sleet and the snow we were supposed to get, but we got a ton of freaking rain. And you can kind of see here behind me, I'm going to show you guys an area, okay, that basically is normally dry, all right? And normally about 4 inches of water, 4 to 5 inches in this creek normally, that runs literally for about 25 miles, 30 miles, okay? So if you watch the videos I've done on Lake Needwood here in the fall, this is Rock Creek. In Rock Creek, Lake Needwood is 6 miles from where I am right now if you follow the trail that I'm on right now, okay? The trail behind me. All right, if you follow that trail, and people bike ride this trail, there's also a paved trail to my right, about 70 yards over to my right. It will take you 6.6 miles to Lake Needwood, which is Rock Creek Regional Park. So I'm 6 miles south, okay, of the park, all right, or of Lake Needwood. This creek runs all the way down from that lake and above it, but really down that. On the opposite side of Lake Needwood, you've got Mill Creek. So Rock Creek runs from the damming of Rock Creek at Lake Needwood all the way down to, guess where, mates? The Potomac River. This creek ends at the Watergate Hotel. Okay, it runs behind the Smithsonian National Zoo in the District of Columbia, winds around, and then dumps in to the Potomac. So I'm going to cross right here really quickly, and you can see this is the filler creek. I'm going to turn my camera around so you can see here. There's never water in here, okay? Hardly ever. And it's filling in to Rock Creek right there, okay? And I'm going to hop over here. Let me give you the other end, okay? There's never this much water up in here unless you're approaching almost a kind of like quasi-flood stage event happening. But like I said, we are miles from the Potomac. And last year in the spring, or actually this year in the spring, we actually followed this creek for about 5.5 miles one day. And it is amazing how wide this creek is and how deep this creek, and the fish that will be in this creek in certain times of the year. Hopefully I don't take a bath right here, but I'm going to jump over this really quickly, and you'll see what's going to happen here on the other side. Hold on 1 second. And we're off. So you can see where I'm at here, man. And listen, like I said, this is normally like 4-5 inches. And I'm going to give you a shot up here of the creek, okay, that is completely blown out, okay, completely blown out. So if you go on the Facebook page and you look at what I was talking about, in terms of the Potomac River water levels are going to rise 4 to 6 feet in some different stages. This is the creek, one of the creeks that actually feeds it, okay? Now it feeds it further down, okay? But look how this is blown out. This creek is normally about 10 to 15 yards wide and about 2 feet to 4 feet deep in terms of the banks. And you can see how it's blown out. And you can see how wider it is down there. You also see some of the obstruction, okay? And a lot of times during the year, there will be trout in Rock Creek, okay? They don't stock it, okay, in these sections, but you can find trout. There also will be, at times, towards the part of the Potomac River, down towards the district, there will be bass as well that will come up in the spring into the creeks. But this unbelievable situation, like really, it'll be interesting to see how it'll impact the Potomac and the lake. The lake is obviously going to be up, and it's been down for about 3 weeks, 3-4 weeks. So that's going to be a good thing for some wintertime fishing. We fished up there about a week and a half ago with a little bit of success, catching some largemouth bass in the 2 to 2.5 pound range. I think one of the mates caught one about 3. Also caught some trout. But it'll be really interesting to see what happens here Hold on one second. There's even more deer running around. That's crazy. That's nuts. So post that. I'll get a video of that and I'll post that up on as a YouTube short. So check that out. That's pretty crazy. I don't know if you guys can get that. Back up in there. Anyway. But that's it, man. This is Rock Creek. Promised you guys a video of what I've been talking about when I'm talking about these creeks in Maryland that feed the upper Potomac. And this one particularly feeds further, obviously, down towards DC. But there are plenty of creeks like this all along Montgomery County, Frederick County, all along the Potomac as you go upriver to Harper's Ferry. You've got creeks that enter in above Point of Rock. You've got all that stuff. That enter in, and these things fill up. Now, and eventually, obviously, it's going to return back down to, normal levels. But when these things happen, a lot of times fish get pushed up in these creeks, okay? Because a lot of times the current flow of the upper Potomac during situations like this, and they're calling for, like I said, 4 to 6 feet rise, will keep fish from being able to make it to the middle of the river. Will keep them pushed against the bank because the current flow is so strong. And then they hide up in these creeks. And some of them inevitably don't go back to the river. And they may not go back to the river. It's December. They may stay in a creek, until springtime. It's phenomenal when you see reports of people catching bass in a creek, very similar to this, whether it be like Antietam Creek or this creek or whatever, that they're catching a bass in December and January, half a mile, quarter mile, half a mile from where the creek empties into the Potomac River. It is utterly amazing. Maybe one last shot of this. What the creek's looking like. Look how blown out that is. There'll be creeks like this, man, in Maryland that you guys, I'll get video in the spring, obviously, that guys will just be out wade fishing these creeks in a lot of places, especially in Maryland. I'm sure it happens in Virginia as well, but they'll just be wade fishing for trout. A lot of these creeks, supplemental creeks, also just recently got stocked. And so those creeks now are getting impacted with a high water event for the creek, even though the river may not be designated as flood stage, because that usually happens at like 10, 14, and 16 feet above pool. These creeks can get blown out, like we're seeing right here. And so any of those creeks that got stocked in the last 2 or 3 weeks with trout, those trout are going to have to deal with this. So it'll be interesting to see how it happens. But that's it, man. That's Rock Creek. Flows from Lake Needwood, Maryland, like I talked about, Rock Creek Regional Park, all the way down past the Smithsonian National Zoo into DC, and then out into the Potomac, above DC, above obviously in the sections that I always cover in the Piedmont, in the DC District of Columbia, where the Watergate Hotel is, and the mole and all that empties out right into the Potomac River. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, man, this is nothing. I mean, fishing in 36, 37 degree weather on the river is nothing for a river rat. Get out there and get wet, but be safe. Remember, if you are fishing in Maryland, you must wear by law a PFD between December 15th and May 15th. Okay, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that these high water events, just like this, and the water temps. The water temps are like about 42 degrees. Okay, so just make sure you're aware of that if you're out on the water, even if you're wading in this, and I don't know why you'd be wading in this, but good, well done you if you are. But if you're jumping the rocks and getting out there in the river to get to the middle river where the smallies are right now, just make sure you got a PFD on underneath your jacket. Okay, I mean that's basically what I'll do is I'll put a PFD on underneath my therm or my Gore-Tex, and then I'll go out on the rocks and stuff like that. If you don't want to take a kayak out or if you're not going out on the boat, but it's a great time, man, because after this event, I think the bite's going to come back for the smallies, man. It was doing pretty well, pretty consistent bite. But make sure you check out the guides and make sure you get some fishing reports from some folks after all this water. But like I said, by Saturday, you can expect Point of Rocks to rise from about 1.5 feet. Yesterday, it was about 1.6. Tuesday, it was 1.6. It's going to rise to like 6.5 feet in the next 2 to 3 days. And this is why, mates. This is exactly why that happens right here. I'll see you next time. I appreciate it.